names.
Right.
Our family line, because those are not their family lines.
Right. They came in on our family lines and so forth.
They're imposters.
Right. So we know the facts. And I'm going to look up Henry III for you right now and show you the lineage here and show you how that works. I can find him. Henry III, he was out of the Selenian dynasty. Henry IV, Lothar Maya, Henry V, Lothar, and here's Henry III here, out of the South Selenian, called the Holy Roman Empire. My finger is going to be right here. Henry III. Before him was Conrad II, Henry IV, Henry V, Lothar. All right, and the lineage went all the way over. All right, and it came over again, the other groups of England, to the Agevians. And then you get the other Henrys of England. All right, and from the Henry of England, Henry III of England did come Edward I and the II and III on this side of the page. The Holy Roman Henry III was actually, he was a different one from the Henry of England on the England side. But from him came Henry III, Edward I, Edward II, Richard II. It was called the Age of Beings. Anglo-Saxon Age of Beings. Anglo-Saxons was black people. From him came James I. After the Age of Being group of Englishmen came James I.
The Stuarts.
The Stuart dynasties. Charles I, Charles II, and so on. See there, William and Mary up in the 1700s. William and Mary up in the 16, all the way up to the 1700s. William alone, and then Anne. The 1700s, William and Mary. All right? So, we have the facts. So we're going to go from this point.
What's the name of that book you was in?
The name of the book we was reading in is...
Just now.
The name of the book we was reading is called The Western Heritage. It's on this side. So I broke up. The Western Heritage by Kagan. Donald Kagan, Stephen Ullett, and Frank M. Turner. Okay? So from this point, we're going to go back and finish reading about the Negroes that settled this country, the United States of America. The first settlers of this new world.
There were Jews.
There was Jews and Israelites. Read on.
Las Casas lived to regret this recommendation. The development of a large-scale sugar planting gave the slave trade a cruel twist. In a few years, droves of Negroes were crossing the Atlantic each year and the soil of Africa. America and Europe was drenched with their blood.
Why was the Negroes' why was Europe drenched with the blood of the Negroes in Europe, if the Negroes wasn't occupying Europe and governing and ruling Europe? You just read that the Negro blood drenched America and drenched Europe and the top parts of Africa. So that means that we was ruling that continent. And not only in the top parts of Africa, in Europe too. Read on.
An estimated million of these Negroes found their way to the land that became the United States of America. But the first black immigrants, Anthony, Isabella, and the Jamestown group, were not slaves.
They were not slaves. They was free men. The first one that came to Jamestown, they was free men.
They were slave owners.
Yeah, they were slave owners.
Indentured slaves. So
right. They was free men. It was millions of them. Estimated of how many?
Estimated million of these Negroes found their way to the land that became the United States of America, but the first black immigrants, Anthony, Isabella, and the Jamestown group.
So immigrants is somebody that's moving on their own, not somebody that's captured and brought to a place. An immigrant is somebody moving from one place to the next on their own free will. This says millions of Negroes came here long before the slave trade. Isabella, Anthony, and the what group?
Jamestown Group.
Let me add
That's the Jamestown, Virginia group.
Let me add to that. They brought their own slaves with them.
Right, and they brought their slaves.
Was the white man.
They brought their own slaves with them, the so-called white man. That's what happened until they overthrew us over here. And along with the North American Indians, they overthrew. And then we fell servants under them. They used trickery and witchcraft, and they used philosophy and that Jesuit order. They came over here to the shores of North America, and they overthrew us over here. Read on.
They came, these first black men, the same way that many, perhaps most, of the first white men came, under duress and pressure. They found the system indentured servitude.
Okay, indentured servitude. They found a system. They had the country set up and everything. They was running things, commerce and colonies and all that.
Who was the
indentured servitude that they had was white people. That was the ones that they had.
That's the proof written right down there what we just got through saying. That's the proof that we had the cracker and slavery right there.
Right. We had them first, enslaved right here in this country. Read on.
They found a system, indentured servitude, which enabled poor white men to come to America and sell their services for a stipulated number of years to planters.
That's right. We was bringing them over here.
Now they're coming with the BS.
Yeah. We had them as slaves.
Right. They wasn't buying their way out.
Right. Read on.
Under this system, thousands of whites, paupers, ne'er-do-wells, religious dissenters, waifs, prisoners, and prostitutes were shipped to the colonies and sold to the highest bidder.
Okay. So we had them as service over here until they got masses and masses of them came, and they were able to overthrow us at a certain point of time.
I see something. This devil threw indentured in there. He integrated that word into the history. Because it told you we sold them on the auction block.
That's right.
They wasn't selling themselves to it. They just got through telling you we put their ass on the auction block and sold them.
That's right. Okay. Continue to read on. Read right here.
Can you read that statement again?
Yeah. Okay. Read that again when he asked you to read about the indenture. You want that?
Yeah.
Okay. Start up there again. This is fact.
This is a fact of capital importance in the history of the American Negro. They came, these first black men, the same way that many, perhaps most, of the first white men came, under duress and pressure. They found a system indentured servitude, which enabled poor white men to come to America and sell their services for a stipulated number of years to planters. Under this system, thousands of whites, paupers, ne'er-do-wells, religious dissenters, waifs, prisoners, and prostitutes were shipped to the colonies and sold to the highest bidder.
And what?
Sold.
And what?
Sold.
And what?
Sold.
That shows you that the first part of that was a lie. They wasn't no indentured slaves. They were slaves.
When they first came here, the white man was slaves.
They were sold. Where you sell people off?
Auction blocks. That's right. And sold to the highest bidders.
Who was the highest bidders? The blacks just got to read.
Bidding for them. That's right. Read on.
Some were sold as the first Negroes were sold by the captains of ships. Some were kidnapped on the streets of London and Bristol.
We had them suckers selling them off ships like they did us.
As the first Negroes were kidnapped in the jungles of Africa.
We kidnapped a lot of the whites out of Europe and so forth and brought them on over here. They were brought over here. Read on. In Virginia, read on.
In Virginia, then, as in other colonies, the first Negro settlers fell into a well-established socio-economic economic grew.
So what